Fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I am live once again for this Monday. And it is Monday, isn't it? We have to talk about Terence Bud Crawford. I know that's been the talk of the town. I've seen other channels post stuff about Terence Crawford and Victor Conte. We have a lot of people that's asking me questions on how I feel about it. And yes, I did see the videos. I made a video last night and I posted it this morning about how I feel about Terence Crawford. I have to tell you guys that Jay, what's up, brother? Number one in the building. Well, how's everything going? Everything's going good, bro. Mama Lou, counterpunch to you. G-Roll, what's up? Counterpunch to you. Coming in at number 2 in the building. People ask me how I feel about this whole Scott McQuillan, what's up, brother? Marcus McGee, counterpunch to you. What's up? Fight fans, we are here. Hit that like button when you come in. And yes, I've seen the videos. People ask me, yo, Kurt, have you seen the Showbiz video? Have you seen the Fanon video? Have you seen the Bruce Vane video? Yes, I have seen all of these videos. I've seen them all. I think this is what I will do. I will counterpunch how I feel about these videos. I think the main source of information would be Victor Conte and his reputation, Terence Crawford with his reputation, and other fighters that popped with their reputations. Let's play devil's advocate. I have to ask you a question. And when I ask you a question, what's up, brother? Joseph Bailey in the house. Counterpunch to you. Scance Rants, the enforcer. DeVille, what the deal? You in a safe house? Yeah, I'm in a safe house. I'm in a safe house. Let me start a poll. Okay. Okay, here we go. Cool. I'm drinking coffee, looking at my Donald Trump picture on the wall. Okay. Has Crawford popped or not? Mike Brown, no. Terence Crawford has not popped dirty. He has not popped dirty. He's a clean fighter. He's never tested positive for anything. Neither has Manny Pacquiao. Neither has Oscar De La Hoya. I think what we need to do, we need to stick with the facts. Because once we start throwing shit out there, we're going to end up where we're at. And the reason I asked this question about Canelo is Canelo was, needless to say, one of the fighters that tested positive. And one thing you do know, if you don't, Mauricio Suleiman was, he is the president of the WBC organization, the World Boxing Council, okay? He hired the amount of clenbuterol that you can have in your system because of Canelo. So things were moved, goalposts were moved for Canelo in that regard. But what type of scrutiny did he have? I remember that. That was 7 years ago now, in 2018, right? Oscar used to put rolls of quarters in his gloves. Never heard that. Pon, what's up, brother? Salute. Look how much criticism Bud is getting for being clean. Joseph Bailey. I mean, that's a good point. I think, and I don't understand what the whole Terrence's dirty thing. I get the Fanon thing. Fanon is just a guy that he either put a lot of money on Errol Spence to win. He never liked Terence Crawford, but he never liked Terence Crawford because Terence Crawford was not a PBC fighter. So since he wasn't a PBC fighter, he wasn't a Showtime fighter. Since he wasn't a Showtime fighter, he wasn't an Al Heyman fighter. Okay? And those group of channels at one point, some of them, but it was channels that only catered to Al Heyman. If you guys know that, you must know that. And they gave Terence Crawford a bad time because he stuck with Bob Arum, which I think was a smart idea until he started being disrespected by Bob. And at that point, I was like, okay, leave Bob, because Bob now is getting disrespectful because Bob Arum was saying things like, well, you know that I'm losing money on Terence Crawford. He's not selling us tickets that we want. He's not fulfilling his part of the obligations. I'm giving him $4 or $5 million a fight, and I'm losing money. I could be buying real estate with this shit, for Christ's sake. Right? Appreciate the love from, I believe, Jiro. So at that point, I was like, okay, yeah, definitely leave Bob Arum because Bob Arum's tripping. Bob Arum is really getting, he's getting out of order. You know what I mean? He's getting beside himself because no other promoter that I've ever seen in the history of boxing talked about their fighters the way Bob Arum talked about Terence Crawford. However, that had nothing to do with the reason why Fanon, and other channels did not like Terence Crawford. They catered to Errol Spence because of Al Heyman. Therefore, Terence Crawford is the enemy. But I have never, ever heard of Terence Crawford taking drugs, performance enhancing, banned substances, any of those. He's never been associated with any of those. Terence Crawford and PEDs in the same sentence. That's non-existent. We've never heard of that shit ever until now. And I want to remind people something. I want to remind some people of something very important. The power of association. The power of association is very, very important to realize because that's what I'm witnessing. Because Fanon has just went out and said, hey, yeah, he's cheating. You better stop that shit before you get hurt. Yeah, that's what we're hearing. That's what we're hearing, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow. I'm thinking to myself, like, well, man, you're that mad because Errol Spence got beat in that fashion. So the first attempt, that was an attempt, but it was piss poor, okay? It was a piss poor attempt because nobody believed that shit. Everybody knows Fanon has something going on. He has issues. We know that. You can't accuse a man who whatsoever without any proof. That's true, Pon. I do agree. But now we're having other accusations. And it really didn't, a lot of people say it was showbiz. It wasn't showbiz. It was Terence. And what I mean by that was Terence Crawford came out, I think last week, and he was responding to Fanon because Fanon, a known hater of Terence Crawford, is constantly saying that, hey, you know what? This guy is cheating. You know what I mean? So he is the one that is in the spotlight for identifying or accusing Terence Crawford of being a cheater, right? Well, Terence Crawford, because of that, posted like, hey, look, I've tested this, that, and the other. Well, here's the problem. Okay, here's the full story. Showbiz saw it and was like, well, wait a minute. This don't look good, or this doesn't coincide with the paper that you're showing. And the paper that he showed was not the right date on that paper. Okay, when you take a test, the date that the test was versus the date at the bottom or whatever when the test was conducted were supposed to be different, and they were off a bit. And that was one thing that he pointed out. And yeah, he got scrutinized for being like Fanon. And I think two problems happened. Terence Crawford didn't show people the actual paper that he had. Okay, he showed well, because he had a lot of stuff scratched out, because a lot of things, you don't want to put like your address and shit, that you don't want everyone to see that, but you do want people to you want to show people that you're not a cheater. That's all Terence was trying to do. Okay, Terence was trying to show people like, look, I ain't testing, look, I did this, I've been getting tested, so there you go, motherfucker. I got this tested and you can't do nothing about it. So what? All right, Fanon. So Showbiz did it. I don't know if he regrets doing it or not, but he was like, well, wait a minute, this is not normal to where this date is, because normally this date is different from this date. Then it went on Victor Conte. Victor Conte is a guy that he's a specialist. He's pretty much a chemist when it comes to certain supplements, certain steroids, certain drugs. Yeah. So he could take those, or he could manipulate certain tests, and in other words, and in short, he could make these tests look as though you're passing them and you're not. Many people want to know if Canelo or Crawford, if you got Canelo or Crawford. My people want to know. CJ Rich, I have to say Crawford at this point. And I think I look at the big picture. And before I go into that, let me finish here. Canelo Alvarez doing what Canelo's doing, I think we're all looking at, hey, how about, what Canelo's doing in camp? He brought in a new a new sparring partner, the undefeated guy that's new on the scene. I can't remember his name right now, but he's doing well. But Terence is killing it. Terence is looking like a savage. And what's happening, he's looking too damn good. And because he's looking so good, the Victor Conte stuff, that now people are digging these shit up, and I don't really know why. I mean, I do know why. You got for two reasons. One, Victor Conte is a known person that knows how to manipulate and cheat stuff. And that's been a big issue, because people are now saying, well, hey, this is possible that Victor Conte could be helping Terence Crawford do what he used to do for an extra ching, if you know what I mean. And it's not about SNAC, it's about Victor Conte. SNAC is the legitimate thing that's been around for a long time now, for what, 15 years, 10, 15 years? But the other shit that Victor did, right? The manipulating and the mixing of the drugs that come undetected with certain detecting, testing, this, that, and the other, right? Now, that's coming up, which I think it's reaching to a degree. It's reaching to a degree because it's like, okay, well, he could do that. Things could happen, That's just like saying Tyson Fury could have cheated the first fight. You know what I mean? And we didn't really bring a lot into that. I think the whole intention on fighters is to protect the integrity and the reputation of these fighters before we start trying to go in on them or going in on Victor Conte, because Victor Conte affects the fighter because he's working with the fighter. He's been working with the fighter. Devin Haney's been working with that fighter. And Devin Haney can't punch for shit, they say. Right? So, you have a lot of different situations and different angles. Now, here's the problem. What showbiz don't realize, I think he realizes it now, is that the people that are saying, yeah, that's true. He could be fucking with Victor, and Victor's a crook, and he's a snake, and he could be using it. So if he beats Canelo Alvarez, that could happen, right? Versus why they're saying it. See, the fans, you don't know what is in a fan's mind or in their heart, because if they're a Canelo fan, they may want that to be a reason, when he may just be trying to get down to the bottom of, hey, this could happen, so be careful, right? Well, people can use that shit and say, you know what? Nah, he is cheating, just like they did with Tyson Fury. He is a cheat. He's a known cheat. The same thing. Let's use Tyson Fury as an example. Do you guys know how many times that they associated Tyson Fury with cheating? Tyson Fury with Louis Resto, Tyson Fury with Panama Lewis, Tyson Fury with Antonio Margarito. You know how many times they associated those two guys together? They put them all together as what? Cheaters. Because this is all about cheating. You see what I mean? This is all about cheating. I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, if you can't prove anything, it makes no difference to me. You know, and Bruce Vane is going to go after anybody that he feels that is on the fence or whatever. Doesn't make any difference to me. I'll say this. The problem with this whole ordeal is Terence Crawford. He's looking too good. See, if Terence Crawford was looking fat and sluggish and slow, kind of chunky, nobody would be talking about this shit. You know, the fact is he's looking too good to make it fallible that he could be dealing with Victor Conte, which is unfair. And I say if it don't apply, let it fly. Because it's like this. It's like with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao didn't, like I explained to you guys. Manny Pacquiao was a guy that went up 8 weight classes. He went up 8 weight classes, and then guess what? You know, he was never popped. He never tested dirty, but guess what? He never was with Victor Conte. Who was he with, though? Alex Ariza. Now, we could look and remember certain things that happened with Alex Ariza. If you guys remember Alex Ariza, he was the strength and conditioning coach of Manny Pacquiao until one day, Freddie Roach, as he is documented on 24/7, found out that he was giving Manny Pacquiao this special shake. Do you guys remember that? Look, I've been watching boxing a long time. This was probably about 2008, maybe 2009. He was giving him this special shake, and then Freddie was like, "What the hell are you giving Manny?" And he was like, I think he wasn't transparent enough to tell Freddie Roach that, like, it's only this, it's only that. He said some bullshit answer and he didn't like it, and they kicked his ass out. Okay? Alex Ariza was, special shake. Then Alex Ariza joined, went on to fight with other fighters like Brandon Rios and stuff like that. He was training with them and such, right? But these trainers, strength and conditioning or whatever you want to call them, they are all subject to cheating or giving aids or giving an edge to these fighters by doing something, by tweaking something. They all can do it. You remember Angel Memo Heredia? You remember him? That was the guy, just like Victor Conte, was convicted, right? That he was giving Olympians drugs undetected that they weren't and couldn't get popped for because he was too damn good. Now, as far as people like Canelo, and that's why I asked you guys to vote, please vote. Would it hurt his career? That's very important, because if that's the case, if you guys can say it doesn't hurt Canelo's career, why are we having this conversation in the first place? So it wouldn't even matter at all. So let's go look right now. Let's go look how many people. Okay. 39% says no, it didn't. So that meant that nobody really cares if Canelo popped. I can't say nobody, but more people think that it doesn't matter. It's not over. 26% says Everybody's cheating. Yes, it did. People that believed it did, 35%. Okay. But understand, I think people should realize this about Victor Conte. Victor Conte said something very important. He said, yes, people have reason to believe that I could cheat again. They have that right, and they, and I can understand people not doing that. But he said this thing here. He said, the same people that could the same people that could catch me cheating are the same people that can cheat. Okay? Because they know how to cheat. It's like the people that make the rules, break the rules. It's loopholes and all this shit. Well, I think we should have confidence in that. So we should understand that it's not all about Victor Conte. Victor Conte is one pawn in this game of boxing, especially when it comes to drug tests. There's other people, thank God, that can test or detect what someone else thinks they're smarter, that it won't go undetected. So they're able to figure that shit out. And I think that's what should be addressed. Okay? There's more than just Victor Conte. There's other people there that can detect wrongdoing, and therefore they have it. That's what they have. They have these people that can find out about them. Oh shit, no, wait a minute. Hold on. We got traces of this shit. Hold on. They know. It's something that we don't understand. I know nothing about it. So, those chemists, those guys that like to mix drugs and shit like that, that's them. CJ Rich, thank you for another super chat, my brother. He says, preemptive excuse, in my opinion, nervousness. Well, I think because, again, he looks too good. But one thing I want to address, one thing that we're not talking about. We're not talking about Terence being too small no more. We're not talking about the idea of Terence and his size will matter. We're not talking about that at all. It's like, wait a minute, I thought that was a reasonable excuse or a reasonable concern for Terence. Now it ain't, because we're looking at Terence. Terence looks just as big as Canelo. He's taller. And it's like, listen, if the narrative changed, like I said in my video, if it goes from we're worried about Terence being hurt or being knocked out by Canelo, now we're seeing Crawford look like he belongs in the weight class, even though he never fought in the weight class. Now all we can do is talk about PEDs. I'm saying that Terence Crawford is doing a damn good job at training and preparing for this fight. And if you notice, he had that chessboard there too. So it's more than just the physical; it's also the mental. You guys remember when Usyk and Crawford were playing chess together? Yeah, they know what they're talking about. Daniel Kinahan, Victor Conte, Bud has worked with some dodgy characters. Yeah. Mauricio Suleiman ain't a dodgy character. They're all Don King ain't a dodgy character. All these guys are dodgy characters. What the fuck are you talking about? They're all dodgy characters. If we want to dig up dirt on anybody, we can do that if we choose to. I think the reason is why. And I'm not protecting anybody. I think people get themselves in a dilemma, in a pickle, because they try to discover certain things and bring to the forefront certain things, and they're only bringing or making excuses for others that have a different mindset than them. See, I hate that happened to showbiz, because he's making videos to try to explain what he means and why he's doing what he's doing. But I think the problem is it doesn't matter what he's trying to do, it's what's actually happening, because you can't change the mindset of somebody that's a Canelo fan or that's a racist. Let's be real. This thing, I remember when Canelo Alvarez was going to fight not Terence Crawford, but Floyd Mayweather. And I remember when I went to a house. It was a, it was a, it wasn't a, it was a UFC fight, but I heard people talking about this fight, and I'm listening to them, and they're like, "Oh, I hope Canelo whips his ass." I fucking can't stand Mayweather, and I have my issues with Mayweather, but out of curiosity, me being the boxing dude, and I'm like, this is 10 years ago, right? And I'm like, well, why don't you like Floyd? I just don't like him. He's fucking ugly. It's just. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck does that got to do with his boxing ability? And it dawned on me. Okay, yeah. This little hunky broad's a fucking racist. You know what I mean? She needs a sheet with some holes in it. Because, I mean, she didn't tell me any reason. You know what I'm saying? Just like Fanon couldn't tell you a reason why he doesn't like Terence Crawford. He just doesn't like him because he's a fan of the other guy. Certain things kind of stick out once you find out about, and you ask the reasoning behind it, and they can't give you transparency on why they don't. You can ask me my issues with Floyd, and I can tell you, but it ain't because of the color of his skin. He could be an asshole. The context of his character, sure, but he could be an asshole at times, which he was back in the day. Fanon ain't a racist. Never said he was. I just said he was a fan of the other guy. You didn't listen to me. He's a fan of the other guy, Errol Spence, and I think that he gambled a lot of money on Errol to beat Terence too. Someone donate $10. Daniel Esquivel, right? You donate $10, my brother. That gives him motivated and asking more videos. Well, it doesn't help Terence. It doesn't. It doesn't help Terence because what happens if Terence mops the floor of Canelo? Now we're seeing all this shit, and that we're a month out, about a month out. We're like a month and a half out, and this comes about. The Victor Conte thing. It's a tough thing to talk about because how do we prove? What are you going to do about it? How the fuck do you prove that a person is cheating or not? That has done the diabolical shit that Victor Conte's done. All that happens by talking about what Victor Conte could do could show reasonable doubt that he could do the same thing again. And if he could do the same thing again, then there's no justice. My thing is, if you're worried about Victor Conte, you should be more involved in the people that could possibly catch him if there is anything to catch. If that makes sense. So in other words, the guys that Victor mentioned, because he ain't the only one, people. He ain't the only one that knows how to mix drugs and try to undetect drugs and try to manipulate. There are other people that know, hey, this is what to look for. You guys remember when I was talking in my last live, Catch Me If You Can, one of my favorite movies with Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Christopher Walken. And it was a guy that was a check forger. And he was good at writing bad checks. Well, eventually, he got caught. He was one of the best people at doing it. Well, eventually he started working to be the guy that detects fraudulent checks, right? So there are people like that. So I think we need to talk more about that and need to have faith in those guys, endorse those guys versus anything else. I would say this though. Victor Conte, I don't know anything really about him. I know, first of all, you got to be diabolical to do some shit like that because this is fighting. And you're giving drugs to some people that make them stronger, bigger, faster, or whatever, right? And they could possibly hurt themselves and damage other fighters. This is different than baseball or football. Not necessarily football, but basketball, right? It's different. Donut Dante, so he can try the mouth burger in Chile is very good. Mint top right icon. I'm too a Spence fan. Since the fight Crawford has gained more respect for me. Well, yeah, because I think there are going to be people that ride with that. And the minute he mentioned that, I think he was like, damn. I don't think that it was Showbiz's intention, but I know that that's where people are going to go, especially for the ones that either are Canelo fans, you have a lot of them, that were ex Errol Spence fans, you got a lot of them. You know what I mean? And a lot of them are still mad that Terence did that to Errol Spence. So, what happens when people get let down from their fighters? They have to have some type of reason. You guys remember when AJ got his ass whooped by Danny Dubois? What was the narrative that was trying to be created? Danny Dubois was going to Brazil and juicing, right? I had to shut that shit down. Why? Because I wasn't having it. You can't do anyone like that just had a good performance. I'm tired of people bringing up shit, making up shit because your fighter got the ass whooped. They got whooped. AJ came in half cocked and he got his ass dropped many times and got knocked out. That's what happened to AJ. There's no excuses for that. Oh man, Danny Dubois, he's juicing. I'm like, well, he's juicing. I thought he was letting some juice loose in Brazil. I didn't know he was going down there getting juiced. You know what I mean? So, like, but I'm just trying to show you how the attempts were there. People were attempting to, oh man, Daniel's a dirty fighter. Then see this Terence Crawford thing. I don't understand it because it's like, why are we talking about Terence, a guy that's never popped dirty? Hell, Danny Dubois never popped dirty. If Terence Crawford gets his ass whooped, I guarantee you, and it's almost like this now at this point, and I don't want Terence to lose. It's not the point. If he loses, Canelo's the better guy. But if he loses, and he loses by knockout, or he loses because of whatever, if he loses, in a convincing fashion, people won't talk about this shit no more. So if we're not talking about it, then why are we talking about it now? The excuses got to stop. And it's all an excuse on why you can't give legitimate credit to a guy that has been doing it since day one, that's been doing it since 135, that's been taking out guys that he don't even supposed to take out. Okay? Usyk was letting the juice loose. A Canelo side is preparing for an excuse after he gets his ass kicked. I haven't heard anything about them, but I can tell you something about that camp in general. The camp in general has been tested. I don't see the what if someone pops dirty shit. I don't see the reason for it. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for anyone to talk about someone juicing based on a guy that's been around forever. Now, I do remember when Juan Manuel Marquez knocked out Manny Pacquiao, people were hoping that he tested positive. Now, here's the deal. If we could go back, and we have, and we're here. We're December 9th, 10th of 2012. Juan Manuel knocked out Manny. First time he ever dropped Manny, let alone knocked him out. What was going on with him? This dude came in big as shit. He came in jacked. I think he had what's the puberty, the bumps and shit, acne. He had acne on his chest, right? And he knocked out Manny Pacquiao. He was with Memo Heredia at that point. And a lot of people do question that. So I will say this in defense of someone that speculates. You have every right to speculate, but understand you have to look within yourself to see where your heart is. Because you know what it is. Oh man, he's cheating. Do you want him to cheat? Or do you think he's just not good enough to beat Canelo? Because it used to be he was just too small. You know what I mean? And I don't think that Terence, and you have to look at Terence too. You think that Terence Crawford would risk his legacy? Because that's what could happen. Because it's a lot of people that already don't like Terence. So if Terence pops dirty, it's going to be different from the Canelo. Why? Because Canelo is more popular. It doesn't lie. Look at the poll. Check this out. Out of 87 votes, 41%, okay, says that affected dirty, it affected his career. 41% says yes, it did. 38% said no, it didn't. And 22% says everyone's cheating. So they don't care either way. That's the question. I don't understand why. The biggest you've ever seen Marquez before or since? Well, that is true. And see, Memo Heredia is one of those guys. He's another Victor Conte. So when we talk about guys like that, I think there is question. But my thing is, why are we asking this shit now? You know what I mean? I guess it's his time because of Victor Conte, but Victor Conte's been around. If we're not asking that shit about pillow-fisted, quote-unquote, that's what they call Devin Haney. If they're not asking that about Devin Haney, why are we asking that about Terence Crawford? Ain't Memo with Benavidez now? I don't know. But King KO, if he is with David Benavidez should have the same type of pressure. Okay? Regardless of who wins, Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez, because, you can't do something and stop it unless someone like Showbiz has been, because I know he's getting it. People are coming at him and sending them notes, and that shit gets annoying. But when you do things and you say things that make people question, you only also say things to make people question in a different way. People doubt, people question, people ask, well, where are you going with that Showbiz? And he's just like, well, the papers weren't right. No! He's like, what? The paper's not right. But understand this about Victor Conte. Victor Conte has recently came out, and he has, and I'll say this, he has said this. He said, Showbiz is asking for transparency about why elite boxers come to SNAC. SNAC has many futuristic training protocols and equipment not available at other facilities, such as comprehensive blood testing and individualized supplement programs. Hypoxic training equipment, hyperoxic equipment often gives to boxers to use at their gyms, a staff of elite trainers, effective recovery equipment such as hyperbaric chambers, and what else? Hold on, let's see. Chambers and compression equipment, plus sponsor money and support. Hope this provides some needed transparency. Thank you for the request. Well, I don't know if that's going to help, but my counterpunch to that is, nothing is going to help anybody's reputation. If you think Victor Conte is still dirty, you're going to, even if you didn't know he was still dirty, you just learned that he was. So I think the problem is a lot of people are learning that now Terence Crawford's working with someone that used to cheat. And the way he used to cheat was fucking diabolical. Okay? However, since people know that builds doubt. Doubt grows. Now, say that person wasn't a Terence Crawford fan anyway. Now, if they're a Bud Buddy or whatever they call them, right? Bud Buddies? Bud fans? They're not going to worry about that anyway. They're going to say the opposite. Well, here's the deal. If you're Canelo's fan, you're going to say that as well. You're going to say the opposite. You're going to say, no, Terence Crawford been cheating. That's how he beat Errol Spence. He ain't shit. He's a cheat. That explains it all. See? But buddies are going to say something opposite of that, right? So I think what's happening in this fight with these guys is not right. I don't think that what, Terence versus Bivol, wow. I hope Bud destroys him. Nobody will, if you're dealing with someone like Victor Conte, honestly, there's nothing he can do about it now. He's not going to stop fucking working with Victor Conte. He's just not. I can see Canelo being too strong. Well, if he's too strong, thank God, right? Because see, at this point, people win that don't like Terence Crawford, that likes Canelo Alvarez, that, believe it or not, and this is to aid Bruce Vane's video. There are a lot of racist people out there. They're not going to know. We're not going to know. I don't think that we are. But there are people out there. And if you are watching, you know who you are. If you are racist and you don't like Terence because he's just a black dude and you're tired of black dudes running the sport and you're looking for other colors because of colors should matter, which it shouldn't matter at all. None of that shit should matter. It should matter who's the best fighter. You're going to want to use something as an excuse. You're going to be looking for something other than the ability of each fighter. That's the reality of it. And those are two different channels, right? And I'm friends with both guys, so I don't have a pony in the show. I'm kind of like the mediator in the whole situation because I've heard all of the videos. I've seen all the videos. I made a video about myself that didn't include any of them because that's my own personal opinion about all that. That's needless to say why I'm talking to you guys right now. But I will say this. There are people that are full of shit because they are prejudiced or hold some type of racism or whatever you want to call it. And they don't like a person because of how they look, like the fuck they can do anything about that, right? And they bring that into a sport with their mindset, and then they make those judgments upon those fighters based on that, on a biased review. And that's just not right. And I think the more people you have, you don't know who's thinking like that or not. So that's why I'm very careful on what I say about certain people. If I say something, I say it and I want people to understand the reason why I said it. Because it's not to cater anybody or any type of audience when it comes to skin color or all that stuff. Because that's not right. That has nothing to do with anything. Now, you wouldn't want Terence Crawford to be cheating, but I think that's all up to Terence Crawford. Unless he's doing something that he didn't know that he was doing, which I doubt that, because I think Terence Crawford, being a clean fighter as he is, I'm pretty sure that he would know what the fuck's going in his body, what he's putting in his mouth, what he's injecting, what he's doing, whatever he's doing, I'm pretty sure he's aware of it. Victor Conte is a guy that I think shouldn't have been back into the sport of boxing. That SNAC shit, the supplements, the this, the that, the other, and you took it and you've changed it around. That's like Tukey Williams getting out of jail without being executed and opening up after-school children programs. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's something totally opposite of what we're accustomed to seeing him or the light we see him in. I can't see Bud living with Bivol either. Can't say I'm too bothered who wins. Nobody asked for this fight. Kurt, I guess Michael Hunter isn't fighting this month. It's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on. I reached out to Michael Hunter yesterday, I think, because I used yesterday to kind of reach out to people. Manny Robles will be on the show, which is good news. He's back with Andy Ruiz. He's away at camp now, though, so he has to let me know when he is available to conduct the interview. But he is on, so we have to schedule that date. So Manny Robles will be a part of the show in Counterpunch Boxing News in the trenches on the platform. So I hope we should salute him and respect him when he comes on. But Scance Range, Crawford's physique looked more impressive when he fought Spence. From what I saw, I didn't see what the big deal with Crawford. Well, the thing that got me about Crawford was his speed. It wasn't his size. I mean, Crawford, unless he just got orca fat, his physique's not going to change. His arms are not going to change. He has long arms. He's wiry, and he's strong as shit because he wrestles. And I think all that wrestling shit too, I think that had a big play in it. I think that had a huge play in it. Huge, man. Huge, buddy. A huge play into people's, man, how is he able? Big Baby Miller is at least 300 pounds. And he was still handling Big Baby Miller as Big Baby Miller was in his weight class. You know what I mean? You think a guy that small shouldn't be that strong. And I think people are now realizing, seeing Terence Crawford progress, evolve, grow, train, prepare. They're seeing this dude looking good, big, fit, right? Now they're looking at him like, damn, wait a minute, what if he does win? Now just imagine if you were a guy that didn't like Terence Crawford. And then you hear some shit like Showbiz is saying, well, hey, Victor Conte is a known cheat. You put that together with your own ideology that I don't like Terence Crawford anyway, then what do you have? You have reasonable doubt. You have an excuse built in. You see what I'm saying? So if Terence Crawford wins, you're going to see more of it. It just creates more controversy to the sport that we love, that we hate so much, don't we? Are they the same? Are they the same height? No, Terence Crawford is probably about an inch taller than Canelo. And the weird thing about Canelo's built at 5'8", and so is Crawford, but obviously Crawford's taller than that. You see what I mean? Probably an inch or half an inch. Not too much. They still look eye to eye, but Crawford's taller. Crawford is taller. Crawford has to be in and out against Canelo. No, I don't think he has to be in and out against Canelo. I think, he has to fight smart. I'm just so interested in this fight because it is the biggest fight of the year. Even though the Usyk versus Dubois fight had bigger fight purses than this fight here, but this fight is the biggest because they're both undisputed fights, people. No matter how you slice it or dice it. Canelo is the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, and Usyk was the unified, and of course Dubois had the other belt, so they were both fights like this. Avatar S. Dillian, appreciate the love, brother, with the $10 super chat, the 10-pound super chat. Let me rephrase. Keep up the good work, Kurt. Appreciate you, brother. Styles make fights. We've seen Canelo struggle with boxers that can move. Well, yes, and I think while we're talking about Terence Crawford, Terence, I want to warn everybody about Terence, and I'm going for Terence. I think Terence will beat Canelo. I think the same thing about Canelo I did Dubois. And you guys remember my breakdown. I told people, I said, I don't think it's Dubois' ability to get better. I don't think that. I don't think he got better. I think what it was, the opponents were easier. The styles were more compatible with the style that he already had. Okay? Same thing for Canelo. Canelo lost to Mayweather. A lot of people thought he lost to Lara, and Terence told Canelo, I think you lost to Lara. Right? That was pretty impressive and some shit to hear. However, nonetheless, I think Canelo will have problems with the same type of fighters each and every time. I don't think he'll learn anything. I think he will always struggle based on what the style is. Bill knows boxing. What's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Metal Box J. Hi, Kurt. Bedtime in the UK. Rain check, mate. It's only 9:50 in the UK. You go to bed early. Hey, man, I salute you. I envy you. I'm just getting started at 9. I'm just waking up. It's an uphill battle. Canelo is the obvious favorite, rightfully so, but I believe Bud can pull it off. Well, I believe Hannibal. I believe Bud can pull it off too. I just think it's a shame when we keep talking about, or not keep, but when things keep coming up about Crawford possibly being a cheat based on who's he associated with. You know, I mean, it's just the energy has to match, the balance has to match. If you have someone like Tyson Fury, Huey Fury, they tested positive for nandrolone, but to keep bringing that shit up once they've done something impactful, because that's what Tyson Fury did. Tyson Fury beat the wrong dude at the wrong time. Then everybody was on. Either you were a dilly. Bro, I remember, and this is sad, I remember coming around people, because that's all we talked about. Man, you seen Wilder, you seen him get beat by the big white boy, right? That's the first thing. You're like, uh-oh. Do you know where this shit's going? Man, you think that dude had something in his gloves? Man, you seen them videos? Dude looked like he had something in his gloves. Remember the one all floppy? Remember that? Then you go to another group of people, because I'm very diverse. Then you hear, nah, man, he beat the shit out of that dude. That dude can't fight. You know what I mean? Yeah, that dude sucks. He ain't this. He ain't that. He just got whooped. Well, some of that's true, but it's almost like it depends on who you ask based on what they feel. And the sad thing about it did come off to me like, I'm coming over to you, these guys that are non-black, white guys or Irish guys, and they were like, nah, I didn't cheat. Just the black bastard didn't fight like him. I'm like, well, okay, well, what the hell does that have to do with, you see what I mean? Then you go over here to the black guys. Oh, man, that white boy. Oh, great. You know what I mean? So you got too much of that, but that gets you to understand that there's more than one issue or element in this equation that people are looking at. The factor is people are looking at it based on something else and not boxing ability. That's what I want to avoid in all aspects. Now it's about drugs. Oh man, he cheated. Think about it. The minute Terence Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez, that's going to come off. Man, Terence was juicing. That's why he went with Victor Conte. And he's been with Victor Conte since 2022. That's been 3 years. Like over 3 years, 3.5 years now. 2025, and we're still talking about this subject. Well, no, I was using that subject, Dracula, as an important example of what's going on now. Wilder looked different weight class from Fury. Didn't bother Usyk though. No, because Usyk is a different beast. Usyk was prepared for the fighter that he was fighting. Wilder was prepared for whatever his ego thought he was prepared for, and the people that allowed him to do whatever he wanted to do. Therefore, he wasn't prepared. Therefore, he got his ass whooped. That's what happened to Wilder in a nutshell. Nothing more, nothing less. And I don't want to hear that. Look, he had a white trainer and a black trainer, so shut up. You're not even going to go there. And in fact, he loved JD's the white trainer. People don't talk about that shit now, do they? He's still there to this day. To this day, JD's is still there. White guy. Black guy's gone. The other black guy's gone too. Mark Breland and Malik Scott are gone. They are done. They are out. But no, back to Terence Crawford. True. Wilder hated the black one and not the white one. Yeah. So, it wasn't even about race with Deontay Wilder either way. They just used it as that. So it had nothing to do with Wilder. It had everything to do with the people that supported Wilder. Just like it had nothing to do with Canelo. It had everything to do with the people that support Canelo. So if the people that support Canelo, if they are known prejudiced people, they're not going to give Terence Crawford, or they're not going to like Terence Crawford, first of all, but then they have something else to use, something that you give them. I say don't give them anything. Don't give them a reason, an excuse, and out, something to grab onto once Terence Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez, because that's what's happening. And the more we talk about it, which is a good thing, speak it, believe it, receive it, it will come. See, Terence Crawford, I think, will beat Canelo Alvarez. And then what people are now saying is, it's not the overall ability, it ain't the size. Now it's, did he cheat or not? No, what you should be talking about is, he better than Canelo or not? Because things are now evening up, if you notice. We ain't talking about the size no more. We're talking about the ability, or possible fuckery, possible corruption. Why are we talking about that? Because we can't talk about anything else. Now, this story would hold so much more weight. Anyway, it would hold weight in general if Terence had an issue before. If he had an adverse finding or something, or inconclusive test or positive test, we could talk about that. We can't talk about this shit now. Why are we talking about it? I think the thing is not to, I think Showbiz was trying to make a point that he did not make. I think what he did, he probably made a mistake. Bars. Because I think what he did, he didn't realize the fact that people could take that and run with it. And that's what they're doing. He's trying to be specific and talk about what possibly could go wrong instead of what actually went wrong or what went right. And the wrong group of people saw that, versus another group of people also saw that and took him for somebody that he's not. I think that's what happened with Showbiz, and he's probably like, damn, maybe I shouldn't even mention the Victor Conte thing. But for overall to create content, hey, it's a good job. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. The race thing in boxing seems heavily stemmed from African Americans, not Africans. Just look at the YouTube influencers from Dante and many other pro boxers leaning into it as well. God of Frogs, maybe. They have a different. It's a group. They're just different people. African Americans versus Africans, no matter where you're at in the other part of the world, they're not the same. But then again, white people from America are not the same as white Brits either, isn't it? So you have to understand, you have the yin and the yang, but you also have the yin and then the yang. So the same people that you say, oh, well, maybe there's a problem. Well, you also have, people over here that they're not as many of them, because a lot of those, needless to say, they went to the UFC, My question is, why would he not? He just moves up 3 weight classes naturally against someone known for doing roids. If Bud isn't juicing, he is a real idiot. Yo, I didn't even think of it like that. Wayne 88, you guys, let me say that again. Wayne 88 says, my question is, why isn't Terence Crawford juicing? He just moved up 3 weight classes naturally against someone known for doing roids. If Bud isn't juicing, he is a real idiot. Oh man, you guys are crazy, man. Look. Do you know that Canelo was truly on the juice? I don't know. Clenbuterol is known to be in calf meat in Mexico. Clenbuterol. We do know he was moving up in weight to fight. This was between the Golovkin fight, the first fight. So it's between the first fight and the second fight. So he popped in the middle of that. So they had the first fight in late 17, in the last quarter of 17. Then he pops dirty around maybe March or April of 18. He gets a 6-month ban. He goes and gets some kind of knee cosmetic surgery. Then they fight a year later, right, in 18. And Canelo wins a split decision. Now, the thing is, do I think he was juicing? Well, if you want to look into that, it was from meat from Mexico. Well, he's Mexican. So the question you ask yourself, was that same meat? He didn't eat that meat at any other time, so he didn't normally eat beef, and he decided to eat beef at that time? Beef, eh? You like that beef? You like that beef, eh? Right? So I think, I don't know. I mean, you could, you could speculate, because it's like, well, man, there wasn't any other times you ate that beef. Bud should come in with the juicy. Nello turns into Red Hulk when he is when he is that clean or clean. Okay. He said white Brits are cool. Do you think Canelo was truly on the juice? Do you really think any other good fights are Crawford past Canelo? I don't know. I just know that Terence Crawford is going up 3 weight classes to fight Canelo Alvarez. And the idea of him juicing, like Wayne 88 said, probably would cross your mind if you thought you needed an edge. Me personally, I don't feel that Terence Crawford would have that mindset. I think he is a guy that's just naturally gifted. And I think to ever mention that is disrespectful. You should never mention the idea of that, because all it starts with is an idea. Everything starts with an idea, people. Idea and conversations kill at times. So the idea, the thought that Crawford is juicing just rips away any credibility of that. The integrity is affected because of something that could possibly be the case, but not proven to be the case. I think that's the point. So you have to understand, like, what was the intention? It's all about the intention. And again, my boy Show, I think his intentions was like, hey, maybe, we have to hold people accountable. Well, if that's the case, you have to hold everybody accountable based on what they do, because there's other fighters and other trainers that, for one, tested positive. It shows that it works, but it also shows that they could cheat again. See, Jarrell Miller, let's bring him up for a second. Jarrell Big Baby Miller. And yeah, I'm wanting him to come on the show and all that. But Jarrell Miller himself became the poster child of cheating. He became the poster child. Why? Because he cheated against a guy that was very popular. If you guys can remember, he was very popular, and people hated Jarrell Miller for that because of what he attempted to do. Not even what he did, what he was attempting to do. Cheat in a fight against Anthony Joshua, which was British. That was the golden boy of fucking England right then. Especially 2017, 18, he just beat Klitschko. What? He just beat Povetkin, knocked him out, right? So, yeah, he became the poster child of that. But how many people tested positive after Jarrell Miller and didn't get the same type of scrutiny? A lot. But as crazy high confidence. Yeah, I mean, he's going to need it, but saying that he juiced takes away from everything that he possibly could have naturally. So I don't like the idea, and I think it should be squashed before the fight happens, because what happens if the people that don't like Bud are going to take this and eat this shit up like a fucking pancake with extra syrup, with butter? Because they're going to like the idea of, hey, what that showbiz guy said does make sense, don't it? That's only creating doubt, and you should never do that. You should never do that. And if you're going to do that, you do that with every fucking body. But if you do that with everybody, everybody's going to start hating you, because they're going to say, oh, man, you always think everybody's on drugs. And you can find a reason why any and everybody should be on drugs. How about the people that tested positive? The people that tested positive for drugs are the people that could take drugs again because they know about the drugs that they took. Let's think about it. Povetkin, he just got what this year, a 4-year ban, and this juggler ain't fought in 3 years. He came in there half dead against Dillian White, and still they just found out about him, right? It's a lot of people. Dillian White, Jarrell Miller, Luis Ortiz, Roy Jones Jr., Sugar Shane Mosley. Yeah. Fernando Vargas. There's a lot of people that juice, man. They moved from Bud can't take the punch of Canelo to Bud must be on drugs. Go put a comment above Canelo being a drug cheat on the DAZN channel and you will see how quickly they delete the comment. But anyone hating on Bud, they will allow. And, you know, I think politics plays a huge play into this, which I won't get into because it's not my place, but DAZN, you know, we do know, and I will leave you guys with this to think about. Yeah. Canelo Alvarez has signed a 4-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh, isn't he? Those fights are going to be on DAZN, won't they? It's a DAZN deal. Now all of a sudden we're talking about Victor Conte and shit like that. Let that sink in. Kurt, do you ever speak with Showbiz? Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. The Devil's White. What the fuck? Show biscuits ought to be shamed. Show the Devil's White. That's kind of disturbing. School and boxing all time. USA, UK, UA, Cuba, Mexico. Kurt, when I was juicing, Clen was used to cut. Oh, I don't know what. Yeah, okay. Never heard of it used to build bulk. Okay. Hopefully we can organize a Zoom or WhatsApp for our channels. Okay. Overdose boxing. First of all, Victor Conte should not belong in the sport of boxing. Now I do agree on that. He shouldn't be allowed because he shouldn't be there. He just shouldn't be there. You think Crawford carries the weight well? I don't know. I'll see on, you know. What did Showbiz do? Showbiz just asked a question about Victor Conte. The possibilities of Victor Conte cheating. And here's the deal. Victor Conte could cheat. What Showbiz said was only being factual. But actually, what would it do to the mindsets of people that either don't like him or not following him? That could bring them doubt to not like him more. So it's messing with the, you know what I mean? Because his association with Victor Conte. But I don't think, and this is my thing, I don't think that Terence would deal with that. Okay, let's just say Victor Conte is a piece of shit, which he has done some diabolical things. So let's just say he's still that person. And let's just say he says, hey, Terence, hey, bud, hey, you really want to beat Canelo? He would have lost Terence with that comment right then. And I'll tell you why. The moment he says, you really want to beat Canelo? Terence is going to look at him and say, man, I'm going to beat Canelo. Get the fuck out of my face. He's not even going to hear him out. You know what I mean? Because Terence wanted this fight. Canelo didn't want the fight. Canelo could easily fight anybody he wanted to fight because Canelo Alvarez can do whatever he wants. Now you could say if you could speculate, and what Show's saying made sense. You could speculate that, hey, if Victor Conte could do it once, he could do it again. But I would like to think that maybe he wouldn't do that based on the trouble that he's got into. But who knows? But Crawford will be the first fighter to stop Canelo. Damn. I wouldn't say that, but then again, I didn't think Usyk could stop Daniel Dubois either, but he did. I just think that people are asking questions, people are concerned, people are worried, and it's okay. It's okay because Terence Crawford is looking loverly. He's looking fantastic, bro. I don't think he's juicing, and he's never juiced it, and I think that's what we need to realize. He's never juiced, he's never tested positive for anything, so I think that that's where we need to keep it. Now, the minute, or if he ever does, ooh-wee, I can, this is my, if that happens, if Terence Crawford tests positive for a banned substance, this is what we're going to see, this showbiz. Here he goes. Oops! Oops! So, up off net, Bud Crawford has tested positive for XYZ. And I believe it's Victor Conte. Victor Conte was the reason the whole time, and I told people, and I got nailed to the cross. Pause. And this is what we have, people, that he tried in Canelo Alvarez, he tested positive for XYZ, and because of that, he will be banned, and he should be banned, and Victor Conte should be deleted from the sport of boxing. That's why, people, I wanted transparency. Damn views are. Yeah. Showbiz put any bets on it. He likes to gamble. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. If anyone tests for pads, it will be Canelo. That would be crazy. That would make Canelo look really bad fighting someone coming up and waiting. You got to test positive for something. Victor Nandrolone Conte. But no, man, I just think he was misconstrued, and he was catching heat for it. But I mean, if I was show, stand on your heel, man, because But he did say, I think people take a lot of what he said out of context, though, because he said, I don't think that Terence is a dirty fighter. Showbiz said that. I don't think he's a dirty fighter. I just think it's possible that these things could happen. And I think people are worried more about the why he said it versus, him saying it. Like, why would you say that? And I don't think Showbiz said it because he meant it to be a bad thing for Terence Crawford. But the reality is it's a bad thing for Terence Crawford. Because anybody with that type of platform says shit like that, it's going to come off negative. It's not going to come positive. It's not going to come that him parading or trying to protect the fighter. It's going to come for him making an excuse for Terence if he does, or Canelo if he does get beat by Terence. That's what it's really about. It is a bad look. It doesn't look good. And again, I don't know if he regrets doing it, but I'm like, stand on your heel, because if you didn't mean anything bad by it, well, hell, stay with it. Stick with it. Do what you do, because you know what you meant. Showbiz knows what he meant in his mind and heart, and only he knows that. Right? I mean, that's that. Fighters in the 50s were legit on roids. In the 50s? Did they even have fucking steroids in the 50s? I'm pretty sure they had some illegal shit, but I don't think it was that. Some stuff shouldn't be said. Some shouldn't. But, I mean, I just don't want to give anybody that's biased anything to work with. That's my thing. Anything to work with. Jax Mans, what's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Germans were the first to use roids at World War Cup in the 50s. I did not know that, St. Don. I did not know that shit. Ooh. I did not know. That's why you one of the realest top five out there. Well, you got to keep it real. You got to keep it a buck. I mean, see, I like different channels. I listen to different channels. Ring IQ, Showbiz, Bruce Vane, and I even listen to people that don't like each other. And I think everyone should have their own opinion about whatever they feel. Not everyone's going to feel the same. Not everyone's going to be coming from the same perspective or the same idea. And the crazy thing, Ring IQ, Showbiz, Bruce Vane, and Counterpunch Boxing News are all, needless to say, American channels. Minority American channels. If there's a such thing. It's all a part of the YouTube boxing community. So, you know. So he says Canelo is a cheat but clerk. And some stuff is common sense. I know everyone, mother and father, told them, think before you speak. Canelo is a cheat, but it didn't give him KO power. Well, I'll say this. And I'm going to let this stay right here. If Terence Crawford was cheating, do you think it's going to make him any stronger? So Ryan Garcia and Canelo are in the same cheating camp, but Showbiz is focused on black fighters Crawford and Haney. I don't see he said anything about Haney. He didn't say anything about Haney that I know of, you know. Kurt, will you give Canelo credit if he beats Crawford? I know you're picking Crawford to win. A lot of people say he's a mismatch, but then pick Bud to win. Yeah. Especially, see, I think it all depends on how he beats him, and even if he knocks him out, that's what he's supposed to do, because that's more than likely what Canelo's going to need to do. He's going to need to knock out Crawford. And if he knocks out Crawford, it'll be the same to do it. But then I think it will depend on how Canelo will, you know, because Canelo's already said, I don't get the credit. If I beat Crawford, he's too small. I don't get the credit. Right? So I think it's how he takes it. I think what'll happen with that, if he beats Crawford and he stops Crawford, that will be something, because he's beaten a pound for pound fighter. Now people will come to that aid. Bud buddies will say, oh man, you know, you're just too big. Oh, now you're saying it. You didn't think that before he got in the ring, did you? He knew what he was doing. He had his own mind. He took the challenge. He came up short. And what does that mean? That just means for pound, he's not better than guys that went up higher. But I mean, who has done that besides Roy Jones Jr. and Alexander Usyk? Nobody. Those are the two guys that have came up in weight to become successful, going up that much in weight. So shout out to Roy Jones Jr. and shout out to Alexander Usyk, in that order, because Roy did it first. Okay, it just proved that Crawford wasn't better pound for pound than those guys. That's what that means. They said the same thing about Usyk. They did say that, Jim Brown. Counterpunch to you. Well, Bud is smaller than what Canelo is used to facing. So, and I think, here's the thing. Michael Martinez, I think Canelo will have problems with Bud because he's smaller, not because he's bigger. I think Canelo has better success with bigger fighters. Yeah. That's my prediction. Just looking at Canelo. Canelo will have bigger, he always has problems with guys that are slick and slender. Yeah, but Khan didn't have a chin, did he? You know, and Khan fell for that damn feint and got his ass jawed. Bah! He was out. He was done. But we all knew Khan didn't have a chin. They knew that anyway. Eddie Reynoso said that. He said, because I don't think that he can take the punch. I think the punching power will be a factor in this fight and will win Canelo the fight. Reynoso said that. And that was the case. Because, you know, Khan was doing pretty good for a while. Bud will win on points. Can't see him knocking out Canelo. Canelo is the hardest chin chiseled bastard with the adamantium jaw that I've ever seen in my life. Hey, Kurt, what about Holyfield? Yeah, you could say Holyfield. You're right. You're right. Does Holyfield? Yeah, you're right. You got to throw Holyfield in there. Yeah, Holyfield, then Roy, then Usyk. You're right. This is such a mismatch. Bud is a part-time fighter. He fought once a year since 2020. Okay, we'll see. Some channels started planting seeds by reporting that other channels questioning if Bud is on PEDs. I never once crossed my mind on how we are all talking about it. Counterpunch, Jimmy. I didn't think he is going to knock him out. I think he's going to stop him by ref decision. Wow. That would be impressive to see Bud do that. And I'm like, bro, Bud's a real one. If he's able to beat the shit out of Canelo to the point that they're able to stop the fight, I'm going to lose my voice. Bro, it's going to be lit. The next big fight, of course, is Moses Atoma versus Dillian White. Big up, right? Because we're going live for that, and that's going to be lit. But I will tell you, if Terence does that, bro, it's going to be off the chain. He's going to fight an athletic southpaw overdose. Well, he's going to be in there. And look, I say this. This is what I say. We will learn if Canelo has actually learned anything about fighting slick southpaws, because he's going to be dealing with a part-time southpaw, a switch hitter. No, I'm not gonna have those bongos, bro. Nah, can't have him here. If Bud knocks out Canelo, he'll be a god like stats. Yeah, they will have, you know what? They will put a fucking statue of Terence Crawford in Omaha, Nebraska. Oh, it will be in Omaha. It will be in Omaha, Nebraska, just like they got the Joe Louis fist in Detroit, right? Bud is a better southpaw, and I bet I stay in the stance the whole fight. He may. Because, see, Lara gave him fits. Long arm southpaw, catch him from outside. But Bud's not going to do what Lara did. Lara started peppering Canelo with that 1-2-1, right? And he did that easily. And I was like, damn. And Canelo didn't have an answer for it. So what Lara did, Lara got comfortable and was like, okay, I got you boxing wise. You can't outbox. Back. You can't outbox me. Right? Move. Bop. Jab. Duck, slip, clinch, move, turn, walk around the park. He did a lot of that shit because he's seen, oh, this is easy. Canelo don't have an attacking. He doesn't have an initial attack game. His initial attack game is those bolo punches. And you've seen him throw them punches, and they were wide and they were inaccurate. Yep, Lara was always less athletic. Bud is less athletic than Bud. Bud will keep combos coming, unlike Lara. Exactly. Lara just got comfortable. And Lara just, I know I can outbox him. I always knew I was a better boxer. Take that. No diddy. Right? That's what happened. So, Terence ain't gonna do that, because the minute Canelo comes in with like that you know, because Canelo's just gonna he's gonna and he's gonna either faint, bro. It's going to. I'm telling you, this fight will show a lot about what people think they know about Canelo and how good he is versus how good Crawford is. This is a treat that we have. It's just, you know, somebody had to do something. Canelo is not going anywhere. Canelo is the king at 168. If Canelo gets beaten, knocked off the top mountaintop by a guy that comes up in weight like that, he is the GOAT. Kurt, you don't think that Bud's pride could be the reason he gets knocked out, though? We all know he won't run and he'll try to hurt and engage Canelo. Yeah, and I think this is what will happen. This is what makes Bud dangerous. I remember, and we always talk about the Oriokes-Gamboa fight. And Gamboa did stumble him, but what happened? That's when he's the most dangerous. See, Crawford, his punching style is he counters you in between your shots. What makes Canelo so dangerous is Canelo don't throw a lot of shots. So the shots that Canelo throws, they're either going to take you out, stun you, drop you, or hurt you, right? So he's not going, Canelo's not going to be throwing shots like that. Canelo's going to be, he's going to be throwing shots. Bolo punches. That's what I call them. He's going to be throwing big bombs at Crawford to see what he can do. He's going to be throwing them to the elbows, to the shoulders, to the biceps. He's going to try to go to the body, but I think those arms are going to be too long for Canelo. So he's going to be hitting elbows. He's going to be hitting all types of shots like that. That's what he hit on Lara, to be real with you. But see what's going to happen with Crawford. Crawford is also a counterpuncher. See, unlike Lara's not really a counterpuncher. Lara is a guy that's a pure boxer that doesn't counter. He moves. He initiates attacks, but he moves. To be honest, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if Canelo wasn't knuckled up Benavidez, the Mexican monster. No, we wouldn't, because, he didn't fight him. Canelo gasses out in the 6th round, and he makes 0 adjustments. He gets lost. When his power is nullified, he leaves his chin open, and on his back foot, he has slow feet. He can't cut the ring off. No, he can't do that. You're right. Yeah, he can't do that. He's not that dude. He's not that dude. He is not that dude. Crawford is my boy. We're from Omaha. Ben, counterpunch to you, representing Nebraska in the building. Crawford has a solid resume. He does, but people will attack that. People will say, that Sean Porter was the podcast Porter. I'm like this, bros. Terence Crawford gets hated on enough from guys over here. And I'm talking about the LWC guys and, those guys. The boxing egos and shit like that. It's just crazy. Do you think this fight does more views than Paul versus Tyson? I hope it does. Me too. But I hope I am happy that Netflix got this fight. I'm tired of paying $80 to see shit. I'm just going to be real. Canelo's going to stop Bud 100%. That could happen. And I think that's what Canelo should be worried about. And see, I'll say this. If Canelo's not worried about knocking out Bud, I think that Canelo shouldn't be fighting no more. Because that means he's got comfortable fighting someone that small. He needs to take him out. See, I'm already disappointed with what he did with Jermell Charlo. He should have knocked Jermell Charlo's ass out, stopped him, or allowed either the corner to throw in the towels, or the referee stops the fight, or the doctor stops the fight. It should have been something like that. Canelo lets people off the hook, but with someone like Terence Crawford, he's going to have to, because I think he's going to be forced to. That's the saving grace. He ain't going to run. Like you said, the pride could get Terence Crawford knocked out. But that's going into the fight prediction, which I will have at least next week. I will have that. He said, no, Kirk, the LDBC are rooting for Bud. Some of them. They don't have any choice now because Errol Spence is gone. And keep in mind, people, I want you guys to understand something very, very important. Errol Spence was supposed to be the guy that fought Canelo because Errol was so big and he was a big weight bully, welterweight. Nobody said shit. Crawford took him out, so Crawford became the next guy up. You see how that works? Canelo now it's slow boxer. Bud outboxed him. Hold on a second. Okay, all right. Spence versus Kell Brook is an all-time stuff, man. I cried. That was sad, man. But I mean, it was a good fight. Errol Spence versus Kell Brook was a very good fight. You know. Here in England, most people are rooting for Crawford. Interesting. Interesting. Tenzin K, what's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. But yeah. I mean, it's going to be a good fight, though. I think drugs, performance enhancing, banned substances, none of those should apply in this situation. I don't think they should be talked about on either side. Let's just keep it even, keep it balanced, keep it respectful until we see anything that applies to what that was mentioned. But guys, I'm going to jump off of here. I got a lot to do. Thank you guys for showing up. It is Monday. We will go live again Wednesday. Okay. So until then, thank you guys for coming in, voting, and everyone has been counterpunched. Peace.